Hey, I'm Tami Pfeil. I'm here for the AQS Christmas Countdown. I wanted to hop on today. Hi, let me know. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for coming. Hello, Francine. How are you all? I'm just going to chit-chat here for a minute while a few more people hop on perhaps. At the very minimum, I know it's busy time for everybody. Halloween's just a couple days away, and I know a lot of people are working on preparations to get all of that going. But I will go ahead and post this video to the AQS Christmas Countdown page when we're done. So if I know a lot of people, like I said, are busy this week with Halloween, just wanted to hop in and answer some questions. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Good to see you. Well, I'll go ahead and jump right in. My name's Tami Pfeil, and I'm participating. I'm one of 3 participants in the coming weeks that are working on AQS Christmas Countdown for AQS. I've put together a program of 4 holiday floor canvases that are raw edge applique, and they're a ton of fun. And by all indications from all of the personal messages and things that I've received and the fabric bundle orders, I want to thank you all now for supporting my little small business, and I'm glad you're enjoying what I'm offering for you all. What do you all have question-wise? I'm going to do my best to kind of read the screen as I go here, but let me know what questions you have along the way, and I'll do what I can. In the meantime, like I mentioned in the event post, I'm going to kind of just go over a few little tips and tricks of working with 54-inch wide home deck canvas and sewing and quilting with that. Believe it or not, it's an excellent medium to work with. It's a little bit heavier than what you're used to in quilter's cotton, but it sews like a dream. Honest to goodness, even for beginners, this is a very forgiving fabric to work with because it doesn't have that movement that a lot of quilter's cloth has. So when you sandwich and do things like that, it really goes together nicely. So if you're just jumping in, be sure and ask me some questions along the way and we'll go. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was cutting. I did receive a personal message and says, what's the best way to cut this? Well, no differently than your quilter's cloth. We're going to do the same thing. We're using the same tools, the same concept supplies. I use a rotary cutter, ruler, and mat, and just those things we all have kind of in our sewing toolbox, in our quilting toolbox, and we're just going to cut normal. The difference is obviously we're dealing with a much wider cloth than what you're accustomed to with as opposed to the cotton sheeting or quilter's cloth. So I'm just going to drop the camera down just for a minute. I've got a little piece of fabric here in front of me. If you hear a little barking, my little one's down here trying to get my attention because I'm not paying attention to her. So, hey, go lay down. I'm busy over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and point the camera down here for you. So I've just got a small piece here since we've got a limited amount of space that we're working with. But obviously we're dealing with a much wider piece than traditional quilter's cloth, like I just mentioned. What I do is just like we always do, is line up the salvages edge to edge, and then smooth everything out to the fold. As long as your fold is smooth and doesn't have any puckers or bunches in it, then you're on the right track. And then what I do is then I fold the selvage up to the fold, smooth everything out, and then turn, and I actually cut this thickness there's my fingers, 4 thicknesses are the 4 pieces of fabric together at once. You're obviously going to need a sharp blade in your rotary cutter. And there's a question from Darlene. Darlene, you missed the kind of cloth. Is it different? So let me go ahead and bring the camera back up. Forgive me. Hi. Yes, it is a different cloth. This is the core basic fabric in this program is slub canvas, and it's 100% cotton, 54-inch wide, about an 8-ounce fabric. Quilter's cloth is in the range of 3.5 to 4 ounces, and this is obviously much thicker. So that's why it's suitable for a quilt for the floor. It's different in many ways. It's still going to wash well. In the pattern, in the free pattern that's on AQSblog.com that you can download, in there are the washing instructions for this fabric. But the gist of it is simply, the gist of it is just machine wash, delicate cycle, cold water, mild detergent, you know, a low agitation that you get with the gentle cycle. Throw it in the dryer just long enough to get the wrinkles out, and then I take it out and smooth it dry and let it air dry the rest of the way. I use non-holiday versions of these floor canvases all over my home. I use them in the bathroom on my tile floor. I use them in the kitchen in front of the doors, that sort of thing. I also even use them on my furniture to protect my furniture for the pets. So they have a lot of versatility just outside the norm of a holiday floor canvas that we're talking about today. So keep your questions coming if you have any more. Hi, Brenda from Kentucky. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody. Hi, Brenda and Aud. Thank you. Good to hear from you. Thank you for joining me today. Hello, Mary. Okay, so just to circle back real quick, we were talking about how to cut the 54-inch wide fabrics. I actually fold it in fourths, so I'm putting the salvages together. And then smoothing that down and putting that to the fold, smoothing everything flat, chewing up my edge, and then cutting as normal. You're going to need a nice sharp blade in your rotary cutter, but all of the tools that you need for this you already have. You have the sewing know-how, you have all the tools. We're just talking about a different cloth medium to be in here. So Aud Hansen says, I've never done this before, but Aud Hansen says they want to be in the video. So I'm going to say, yes, approve. So thank you for coming, and hello again. All right, so a few of the things that we wanted to talk about. I did get a couple messages about on the Facebook group page and privately asking about the batting for these projects. I tend to be a huge fan of the Quilter's Dream 80/20. It's a kind of the low loft blend. It works beautifully with this, whether you're doing the floor canvas or incorporating these canvas cloths into a quilt or other sewing project. I've got some examples here over my shoulder. You can't see them very well, but I use them in all kinds of stuff. This is my go-to, but any low loft cotton or cotton blend batting works terrific. The other thing I use is for piecing, just your regular generic 40 weight thread is fine. I'm not picky. I tend to go with a polyester thread, and my machine's not picky. I use for piecing that generic thread. You don't have to spend a lot of money on fancy thread for this, but I do spend money and splurge. It's not required, but I use the Wonderfill for all of my top stitching, for my illustrating with thread that you saw in the pattern, the description of that. And then I use the Wonderfill Deco Bob, the 80 weight, in the bobbin. And it just sews like a dream that way. That's pretty much it. Anybody have, I missed the question. Francine's asking, let me see, what type of needle will we need? That's an excellent question, Francine. A jeans needle. I specify all those details in the pattern, but I recommend a jeans needle. Now, on my machine, I've even used a top stitching needle. You're going through a lot of thicknesses here, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised of how forgiving and how easy the fabric is to sew with. So use that heavier duty needle. Go slower. I also recommend that you open up your stitch a little bit. And what I mean by that is if you have a 2.5 stitch that's kind of your normal go-to stitch length, I tend to open it up to about a 3, but you're going to want to experiment with your individual machines and see what looks and works best for you. When you're top stitching with the heavier weight fabric for the illustrating, I tend to open that up just a little bit more, but you'll find even with the thicker fabrics that stitching, you know, between 2.5, 3, maximum 3.5, probably, just again, depending on your machines, just give that a whirl and a try. So what else have we got? I'm going to try and scroll up here and bring on some more questions as needed. Hello, Julie. Lisette, good to see you. Can you use a quilter's cloth on the slub canvas? Julie, ask me another question. I am using the base of the floor canvas project with the slub canvas, and then the raw edge applique on top. I'm actually using a duck canvas. And I've cut out all my pieces here. I'll show you. And they've got the backing on there. But the duck is a 7-ounce cotton, and the slub canvas, here's a piece here. I've got my my binding pieces cut, and it's got just a little bit of a slubbier texture to it. I don't know if you can see in the camera. I'll try and point that up. Can you see that? Can you see that the little slub texture in there? So that's that. And then you'll see on the duck canvas, it's just a regular cotton duck weave there, and that's a little bit lighter, and that's what I chose to do on the front. Can you use quilter's cloth on top of the slub canvas? I suppose you could, but I would tend to, I have not done it personally. I would tend to experiment with that a little bit and see how it washes. If you're one of those that plan to wash these often, you might want to see how they behave on there. They're certainly going to wear different. Your quilter's cloth is, for a project that's intended for the floor, certainly isn't going to wash or wear and tear nearly as nicely as the canvas goods are. I hope that answers your question, Julie. All right, what else have we got here? We talked about the needle. What else? Well, hello from Norway. Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Boy, thank you all. South Dakota, we've got the whole range. Just to circle back, if you're just joining us, if you missed it tonight, I know a lot of folks are busy this week trying to prepare for the kiddos with Halloween. I will post the video out on the group page for the AQS Christmas countdown page in case you missed it. And listen, if you have any questions, please feel free along the way over the course of the weekend, and next week when we post kind of our finished and show and tell pictures. Let me know if you have any questions along the way. I don't answer them around the clock, but I'll do my best to get back to answer any questions you have on, Messenger or on the post itself. I've had people reach out and ask questions on the blog, the AQSblog.com also, and I'm doing my best just to try to keep up with those. But mostly I've gotten a lot of private messages from everyone thanking me and encouraging me for this. It's been a lot of fun to put together. So, we've talked about thread, we've talked about batting. The next thing, and we've talked about stitching and cutting. Are there any other questions that you have? Just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just kind of keep on going and show you a little bit else of what we've got going on. So there were four designs in the entire program. I did the main one, the gift wrapped one, is the one that's the free pattern on the blog that you can download. In its entirety, it's there. And the pattern's free with a fabric bundle purchase. I do have a friend, my lovely friend Kathy, here in Columbus, Ohio. She graciously tested the pattern for me, and she actually made a table runner with hers out of regular quilter's cloth. So I'm really anxious to see those that are making the actual floor canvas, but kind of all the derivatives that you might come up with or variations on the theme, and come up with some other items, be it a table runner, a Christmas tree skirt. Wouldn't these presents, these gifts, look, here I'm holding this one upside down, wouldn't these gifts look terrific on a tree skirt or on pillows for your sofa or that sort of thing. Think outside the box a little bit and come up with different ways that you can incorporate the raw edge applique motifs on different patterns or ideas that you have. Placemats. Placemats came to mind. Doing miniature versions of the presents to decorate, you know, a napkin or on a placemat or on pillow and that sort of thing. So here, let me pull out on the pattern the piece that has, and of course I'm not able to put my finger on it right this moment. Wouldn't that be? Okay. So on the pattern piece, let me put this in front of the camera so you can see it. Remember this little layout diagram here that had all the different pieces on it? Think about that if you want to do things in miniature or in large, scaling on your photocopier, larger and smaller, you can do the same things. All the pattern pieces then would scale accordingly. So play with it, see what you come up with, and I'd love to see what you come up with. Actually, please post that. I put out a cute little teaser video last week, and I kind of gave you a view from this corner of my tiny room over here. Gave you a view of what these floor canvases look like, but they're a lot of fun. I can't stand back far enough so that you can see all of it, but it's they're a lot of fun. Okay, so let's talk about, or let's look a little bit closer at, and let me come up here. How about this end? This will be a good end. I want to bring up close and see that stitching technique there. See, with the heavier thread, I'm calling that illustrating with thread because we're just giving that some raw edge definition. It kind of gives it that illustrated look and gives it that kind of visual texture or dimension that makes those pieces pop on the heavier duck canvas. It's a lot of fun. If you decide you want to use regular thread, go for it. So your regular cotton or polyester blend threads, you know, whatever they might be. Here's just an inexpensive cotton thread, polyester thread. Those work. You just might, I chose to go around all of my pieces about 2 or 3 times around the perimeter. But with the thinner thread, with the 40 weight thread, if you just go with that, you just might want to circle around several more times so that it gets darker and you can actually see that outline or dimension. You will notice it on the floor. It kind of adds that, again, that visual dimension to things. So this was the gift wrap version. You saw that. That's the pattern, the free download on the AQS blog.com. And then I have 3 other designs in the program. I have out on my website all of the patterns posted. If you choose not to do the fabric bundles and you want to take those and run with them with your own fabric stash, I have the patterns available for sale on the website individually. But if you do purchase a fabric bundle, the pattern is free. So the original designs were intended for the floor, but if you have another application or another design idea to kind of envelope those applique ideas into, I'd love to see what you come up with. All right, so the next one, I'm going to show you. This one's called Light It Up, and this has got the kind of like the string of lights, the holiday lights on it, and those are a ton of fun. You can see real close here too that I did the same raw edge on there. It doesn't look how, see that stitching? It's the imperfect that makes it perfect, right? So it doesn't have to be precise. You can see right here that the stitches don't match, they don't line up, they're not perfectly on the edge. That's what you want. That's what kind of gives it its kind of artistic look. So there's that. Now, some of you may be wondering, I did get a couple of requests or questions in personal messages on Messenger. Where do you come up with this stuff? Well, if any of you have followed me at all, I have another side hustle besides the sewing one. I have another side hustle where I've been involved with felt balls for a number of years. And actually this design right here actually came from this free project. This is a mixed media art project, and I'll bring it in here a little bit closer. But that floor canvas was inspired from this design I did several years ago. And what this is are 3 centimeter felt balls reshaped and then turned into light bulbs. These are actually wine corks as the base, and then I've got some wire, some black wire that I thread all of them together and then put them on this board. So that's where that design idea came from. Thank you, Colette. Good to see you. Hi, Julie. Anybody else have any questions? Oh my gosh, thanks you guys for coming. All right, so let's keep rolling here. This is the next one. This one's called Let It Snow, and it features this little snowman. And if he looks familiar, it is because I developed this little pattern many years ago, Frosty and Flaky, and that is that man, that snowman on the Let It Snow floor canvas. So that's where that came from. And then from there, I will tell you, this is, next to the gift wrap one, this is the number 2 seller so far this holiday season, is the garland one. So I'm backwards on my camera, so I'm just trying to get it all figured out here, what you can see. But it's just a normal tree, right? And then I flipped it so that we've got one going each direction. The fabric is awesome. All right, so we talked about fabric, we talked about cutting, we talked about what needles to use, we talked about threads, opening up the stitches on your machine. Now, sandwiching and quilting. So sandwiching is no different than you would do for a regular quilt. If you're a pin baster, do it. If you're a spray baster, do it. This is a small, very manageable project. So I think you're going to find on your domestic sheen it works great. If you put it on a long arm machine, you're going to love how it stitches too. So it stitches like a dream on a long arm also. What's great about these oversized prints from Premier Prints is this one in particular. You can see that I actually used the printing, right, to be my guide for my machine quilting. So you can just see, you can see where, you know, I did all of the individual stitches there and used that as my guide. And I went right through. This is killing me. I'm laughing at myself. I can't get this camera direction thing right. It's actually kind of messing me up and cracking me up at the same time. But anyway, once I get it all in place, all of the applique down and sewn, I just machine quilted over the entire thing. I used the pattern of the printed on the fabric as my kind of guidelines to stitch. On other ones, on the Let It Snow version, on this one, you can look real close. I just did some match stick quilting there. Don't be afraid of this one. Another question comes to mind that somebody had. Oh my gosh, is that snowman white? No, he's not completely white. He's printed on a white background. But it's a fabric called, well, it's a color called French gray, and it's a mottled hash looking type print, and it's perfect for a snowman. And I think you're gonna love how cute it is in your house, and it washes really, really nice. On this one, I quilted, and you can probably see it easily on the applique motif here. I just did 1.5 squares, just machine stitch there in a grid pattern, and it turned out really cute. Let's see here. This one I did, let's see if I can find a good spot where you can see it. I just did a diagonal, 45-degree diagonal off center, you know, from the center point. I found my center, did a 45-degree, and then just did the cross diagonal diamond type stitches there. Don't know if you can see that. So there's that. What else do you guys have question-wise? Anything? Anything? Okay. That's pretty much it for tonight. Again, we're going to start from the beginning. It's the same tools. You have the know-how. We're just talking about a different medium here. We're using a slub canvas for the base. And then for the applique pieces on top, it's a 7-ounce duck. And that's going to kind of be a nice medium for a quilt for the floor. Open up your stitches from a normal like 2.5. Experiment with what works on your machine with the fabric. But I tend to open mine up to about a 3 or more depending on the thread I'm going to use. Piece everything together when our machine quilts and do the binding. Oh, that's what I forgot, binding. That's what I forgot, binding. Let me go back to binding. All right, so this goes, I went over this at length in the pattern, but typical than what we do in, differently than what we do with normal quilter's cloth, I have chosen to do 3-inch wide strips on the binding. And then when you fold that in half, you're going to press that full length, join, you know, your pieces together, however you choose to do that, and then sew it on a 3/8 inch. Okay, so given the scale of the print, the purpose of the project for being a quilt for the floor, a 3/8 inch seam, putting that binding on, folds over nicely. I actually sew it on the front of the floor canvas, and then I fold it to the back and then stitch from the back, and I'll show you that a little closer up here. But it makes a very nice finished, about a 1/2 inch wide binding. And you can see how beautiful the corners miter and everything like that. Again, I sew that on the front and then I flip it to the back, and I'll show you up close here. Let's see if I can get this right. And then I just stitch along the edge from the back side, all machine stitch. Don't try to hand sew this, it's just not worth it. Machine, do it all in the machine. And then you don't even see the stitches. Frankly, I used an off-white or a cream color thread to do all of my machine quilting, and it shows, or it, you know, kind of blends beautifully in there. What you want to showcase is that illustrating with thread, that raw edge applique stitching. That's what needs to pop, and that's why I chose the black threads to do that. So I'll circle back for the final time. Oh, you know what else? Hey, Debbie, you'll appreciate this. There's 2 additional participants in the Christmas countdown that are coming after me. And we've got an applique specialist that is bringing up the tail end after me. Week after next, Debbie went from Went Quilting. She actually sent me this brilliant binding tool. And if you're a newbie and you need some direction or help on doing bindings, at first, when you're first starting out, they can be a little bit tricky. this is the tool you want. This one will help you get your mitered corners in. It'll help you join those ends together once you've made your trip around the perimeter of your quilt, whether it be for the floor or your bed quilt or an art quilt. This is a great tool. Check this out. It's on, she'll be coming up next week, and it's out on her website. It's a great tool. You have the tools, you have the sewing know-how. This is just a different medium. Be sure and use a jeans needle. Open up your threads, your stitch length, and use just normal, inexpensive, whatever your favorite. To be quite honest with you, it doesn't matter. I've used the cheap stuff and I've used the really good expensive stuff, and some things I like more are better than another, but honestly, you don't have to go all out expense-wise on the thread for this. Polyester actually kind of works really, really well. And then that's what I did that's generally what I piece with when working with canvas. That's what I quilted with and put the binding on with. I just splurged for the raw edge applique. I splurged and did the Wonderfill. I did, let's see, can I get this on there? I did I can't get it. I did the home deck thread. Let's see if I can get that in the camera a little bit better. You can't see it, can you? I specified this on the I'm not gonna try. I specified it in the pattern, but the home deck thread, the heavy stuff that stitches really well and shows up well for the raw edge applique, and then the deca bob for the bobbin. I can't wait to see what you all are putting together. If you have different ideas, I know my friend Kathy is going to post her table runner next week, and then I've also, believe it or not, let's see if I can come up with it quickly here. I did a table runner too. Okay, so this is going to be impossible to show you, but I did the same fabric bundle, the fabric quantity that's in the fabric bundle for the floor canvas, this project where we have kind of 2x3 packages on the floor canvas. I took those and put, with the same fabric bundle, I did another one in more of a runner style where I lined them all up edge to edge, right? And that turned out really, really cute too. Instead of, I have you cut for the floor canvas everything with the fabric. For the runner, it's length of fabric. So I'll post out on my blog, I'll post the cutting layout for that for you. I'll try and do it by the weekend. How about that? I've been really busy trying to cut and ship out orders as fast as I can. I want to get this stuff in your hands because you're going to love it. And then I'll circle back and get my emails out. I've been kind of late getting those out, and I'll get that blog post out there, but I'll share those cutting dimensions for you for this runner. And what's really cool about this, it's a long piece. I live in this older historic home, and so the hallways are a little bit narrower than normal. I've got a nice upstairs hallway, and actually this runner's perfect for that hallway. It also works at the end of a bed for the holidays if you wanted to decorate, like in those fancy schmancy hotels where they have those little those foot runners at the end of the bed. That works great for that too. So you could use it as a floor canvas runner. You can use it as a bed runner. You could use it as a table runner. These, again, we talked about it earlier, but these gift wrapped items will look good on pillows too. So think about it. You get 2.5 yards of this 54-inch wide fabric, and so you can get several pillows out of that much yardage. But you can get that yardage, you can get, a long version of the quilt out of that as well. So have a great night, everybody. If you have any questions, message me, post on the group page, and I guess I'll see you soon. Take care.